Now for a 12 News Legal Deep Dive, where we take a look at some of the biggest legal cases making headlines here in Arizona and across the country. First up, the recent spike in animal cruelty cases right here in the Valley. The way the Maricopa County Attorney's Office is handling animal abuse and cruelty cases has come into focus in recent months. Specifically, some animal rights activists have been outraged over the decision not to pursue charges against Brooke Scalero, the Mesa woman who admitted to killing multiple dogs and documented the torture in a personal journal. This afternoon, 12 News journalist Sean Rice asked County Attorney Rachel Mitchell about what evidence was missing in that case.
There is a long-standing rule in the criminal justice system that you have to have more than simply a confession to a crime, that you have to have, not to use Latin here, but you have to have a corpus delicti, meaning you have to have not the literal body of a crime, but in this case, really, it is a body of the crime. And we did not have any sort of forensic evidence to suggest that what she indicated that she did, she in fact actually did. And without that, you cannot pursue charges.
So joining me now is criminal defense attorney Hector Diaz of Diaz Law. All right, you just heard the county attorney say that they did not have any sort of forensic evidence. So here's where I'm confused. If police had the evidence, they had her confession, they had that journal where she specifically wrote about the abuse, they had dead dogs. I mean, what more do you need?
And I gotta say, Rachel Mitchell, before she was a county attorney, she was an exceptional trial attorney. She knows the rules of evidence. She knows the evidence that you have to bring as a prosecutor. And she knows what's required. She talked about this corpus delicti. Defense attorneys love that, where, when you have just a confession, but there's maybe the physical evidence that ties the confession to the crime, right? That there's more. And so essentially what you have in these situations is that you may have a journal that talks about a horrific act, abuse, killing of dogs, horrible stuff. But when you look at the physical evidence, it just didn't match up. It didn't match up. And I think in this case, this individual, this suspect indicated that what she was writing about was fanciful. It didn't have any connection in truth, and that she made up these allegations. And so,
really? But she confessed to the crime. Corpus
delicti. For those law students out there, they love that word. And law professors love talking about it. But at the end of the day, when you go into a court, it's not suits, it's not law and order. It is, there's evidence that can come in under the rules and evidence that cannot.
So what's the difference between forensic and then the evidence that Mesa police had found?
We use the word forensic a lot. In the forensics, it can be computer forensic evidence, where you see it plain as day. Here's the science behind it. And really in these kinds of cases, it's, the killing of dogs. They looked at it, they didn't maybe have enough evidence in terms of how the dog died. Was it from exposure? Was it from blunt force trauma? They look at it in terms of really looking at the science of what occurred here, and does it match up with the statements and the confession that they made? And here the county felt that it didn't.
But what if, because you've got a lot of angry animal rights activists here.
Understandably.
What if it did go to trial?
So, prosecutors have unique responsibilities under the rules of professional conduct, and they can't just bring a case. Their goal isn't to just win at all costs. They're ministers of justice. They have to look at a case, and if they feel that there is no reasonable likelihood of conviction, they can't bring it. They can't go to trial, and if they do, they're facing not just potentially disciplinary issues by the state bar or potentially lawsuits by bringing a frivolous action or something of that sort. Right. So I understand. I mean, it's a very hot button issue, and I
very
totally
emotional
understand it.
On both sides.
But our county attorney is looking at this, and I think we need to note there are certain policies. This county is very diligent investigating these cases and prosecuting these cases.
All right. Well, Sean Rice, he's going to have more on what County Attorney Rachel Mitchell said coming up later at 5 and 6.